What's going on, people? Happy Tuesday, uh, October 22nd. We're almost at the end of the month. I'm Eve. I'm here with Marie.
Hey.
And we are live with the deep brief. Bum, bum, bum. Maybe we'll have some intro music that suits the mood. I wanted to start with us not right over the title. That way they could catch the vibe a little bit. If there's a vibe, I don't know if there's a vibe or not. But since we've been talking politically and it seems like we can't really escape it, we figured that we would do that, do the conversation, the discourse with, with you guys a little bit more on purpose. Marie, the first thing I wanted to start with is, did you see Jimmy Carter? Did you see this? It's catch you up to speed.
So look, if Jimmy Carter can vote early, you can too. So look, if Jimmy Carter.
Okay, that's what I want to start with. If Jimmy Carter can vote early, you can too. That looked like elder abuse to me. And I think Joe Biden's presidency has been a little smelling like elder abuse. I don't know that he wants to be there as much as people needed him to be there. His wife, his handlers, whatever it is. But they wheeled that man in on what looked like hospice bed to vote. He's not walking. He's not even in a wheelchair. He was in a bed. Is that ethical? Is it right? At what point do you lose the ability to?
Go ahead, because
It's just, if he can't drive, maybe he can't vote.
I don't know. My daughter's granny, she 101. She just lost her ability to drive like at 95, 96, but you should hear her one day. She was talking about like, I only get pulled over in school zones.
Probably because you go a little too fast, ma'am.
You're not following the rules, Granny. That's why you're getting pulled. Only school zones. Like, yeah, go on, give us this damn car. Oh, you can't drive no more. But mind you, gets up, makes her bed, does everything else, and then be like getting mail. Like, why they keep asking me to fund people's scholarships? I got my own great grandbaby in there that's in school right now. Why don't people don't pay for their own kids? Listen,
that's real.
But that being said, and I hate to say this because I really don't want to be an ageist, and I don't even know if it's necessarily an ageist, but we can obviously tell that we can obviously tell that Biden is dealing with some form of dementia or something, like there's something going on there. Trump clearly has something going on too. And to be honest with you, the inability for Kamala Harris to actually articulate herself consistently
Something going on there too.
So part of me wonders if they all just like, well, she going on with everybody. Like everybody, almost like, and I say this jokingly, but seriously, like I think everyone I know, once upon a time, I remember in my early 30s, late 20s, I would sometimes I was dating someone that was 40 and he had so many different between supplements, herbs, medications. Like, what the fuck? And then now I'm like, I need to order not even the day and night, not even like the regular vitamin vial thing, but the one that has the 3, because midday, because I find that you really can't take all your medications and supplements and whatever simultaneously. And I say that to say that, like, I guess we all got something going on. Like,
that's not a bad point. For sure, everybody's got something.
Because I think that's like, let's be honest, they rolled him out. Like, to me, I'm like, do you even know who the fuck you're voting for? Like, is this like, does he even know this is a ballot? This is, and to be honest with you, can he, even the most, someone that has the most discernment, do you know who you're really going there to vote for? Something came up today. Be honest with you, Trump made sense today. It's so rare. He said something that made a lot of sense, and he just talked about how the ongoing war of Democrats, being in the Middle East, and not to say that the Republicans haven't been, but even talking about the Cheneys and how they actually they were part of the influence for Bush going in there. And so to be honest with you, that's a stickler for me. So there might have been 20 minutes where Trump wasn't looking so bad. I'm like, well, what will I tell my grandchildren? Like, you voted for, like, look, I voted for the person that didn't want World War III to just kick off so soon. And I was just trying to delay the inevitable. No, but so part of me is saying that, there's so much. The Democrats have done such a bad job these past couple of years. And then overall, when you start to even just look at their foreign policy, I don't know if just any Joe Blow or like anyone, like even someone who's knowledgeable, is like really perplexed at this moment of who do I vote for, or what am I overlooking? Like, is this okay or is that okay? Like I think someone told me today when I didn't drag someone for voting Republican, it was like, so you're okay with, Trump wants to take us back and have us back in chains and fields. I'm like, I feel like that's extreme. But the issue was really there was a mother going into a tangent about how her son, I guess, voted Republican and how they've always been Democratic and support these people and that people. I'm like, well, right now the Democrats ain't really supporting none of those people you listed. In fact, they're on a killing spree of brown people. But I think your son might have got his own message. And I think the thing about it is to the thing about being a parent or in general is that you really want your children just to be enlightened. I don't necessarily want you to do everything I do the way I do, though I would love that because I always think my way is the right way. I want my children to have discernment and critical thinking skills and be able to make decisions on their own and make sound decisions. That being said, I think that right now it's really difficult for anyone to determine which side seems better or whatever. Like, and I say that to say that, not to say that, hey, like Trump is racist. He does, he kind of brings out a energy, an energy that typically wasn't as acceptable. But I will say that I do like my racism blatant. So I just know there's no confusion. I didn't make a mistake and thought that you were my friend or anything. But that being said, overall, I think that we're at a time where it's like you don't know what to do. Like even to the idea that we recognize that our system is kind of broken too. So even if you were to deviate and choose someone that really aligns with your values personally, there's a good chance, like just due to even the electoral college, which should be abolished, which there's been 700 attempts to abolish it and no one's done that. That you recognize that even if you go the right, like let's say we deviate from the red and blue, no red, blue, no, red pill, blue pill, we deviate from that. And let's say we go green, which, I'm a proponent for Jill Stein. Well, and she is on the ballot, but the catch is all her campaigns have been suppressed by both parties for a long time. There's been a lot of money to keep her out of like the race. Also, too, the electoral college is really, so it's not even about the popular vote. It's really about the electoral college. So it's like, you might actually have to admit too, the system is fucked up. Like, so it's not even like, well, you can, go vote, but go vote in the system that actually is kind of set up a certain way already. And I know that was long-winded, sorry.
No, that's okay. Dealing with some back here anyway. But I think that you're making a good point about the status quo, right? And then people do get surprised when you aren't doing what everybody expects you to do. Like, oh, I thought you were women first, or I thought you were black, heavens to Betsy. I'm so lost with your decision to throw your vote away. If that were the case, then they wouldn't be so pressed on getting the vote, right? If it's just a throwaway, or if these votes don't really matter, then what do you do? America's out here trying to force democracy down everybody's throats, right? But then if there comes a time when the people don't even agree with democracy, then how is America going to have any type of foothold in any of these places that they've already told the people that, oh, you got to do it this way because, it's the right way. But no, that's why, go backwards, a couple decades to civil rights. The only reason we got any sort of civil rights is because internationally you can't say, hey, you guys got to treat your citizens the right way, but we're killing niggas back home. It doesn't look good. The optics are really bad. So it's America's got some work to do on both sides of the aisle if they want people like you or me, critically thinking people, or people who just want their politicians to make sense, have an answer for the questions that are being asked of you. Maybe it doesn't have to be sensational. It can just be a boring answer about how you're gonna get stuff done. I don't need Eminem to introduce you. I don't need to know your top 50. I don't need any of that shit. But
Like
we're getting these emotional arguments, and your ancestors, your granny. Look, this is somebody's granny. Look at this shit. I mean, look at it.
Okay, Grandma, do you want to vote for the first woman president ever?
Yeah.
Okay, she's a Democrat too. Okay, so I'll show you where to write. Keep the pen in your hand.
Does Granny know she black?
And it's right here.
She said she's black too.
I think that matters working in a nursing home.
Grandma.
Sometimes they don't remember a lot of things, but they remember they hate
president.
Right.
Harris. Kamala Harris.
Come on.
I'm sorry, y'all. That looks like elder abuse to me. Because if Granny doesn't even know or can't sign, if Granny doesn't have power of attorney, or if she's not the person responsible for herself, Granny's lost her vote. Now, your grandma, or your kid's grandma, whoever you were talking about earlier, your daughter's grandma, I think that it matters if you have been able to do things on your own. Driving,
not necessarily driving, but she gets up, makes her bed every day.
Right.
Like I'm 40 years old and I ain't making my bed every day. Like, I don't know. Well, my new excuse is I'm letting it like air out your body sweat. Like you really want to allow that to air and dry up. Like it's healthy. Like it's not good for your skin to just get back in there. That's my thing right now.
I mean, you got to do what works for you. But is she one of the elders that you would have to worry about her cooking for herself because she's going to forget that the stove is on?
Not even that. I think we just don't want her to because that's just extra shit to do. You know what I mean? Like she gets up, she will try to go make herself somewhere. You're like, oh shit, why you didn't? Like I think one time, so sometimes she be up watching Matlock or doing whatever. So you don't know what time Granny finna get up, right? Like ideally you want her to be up by 11, but like sometimes it's have to be up. She get up at 2 in the afternoon. You like, what the fuck was you doing all night? Meanwhile, she didn't got up. She takes herself to shower. After she showers, then she goes back to the room, gets dressed, then she makes her bed. Then she she loved to get her little newspaper and everything. She got her little table set up. We got some extra things so she doesn't always have to take that long walk to the kitchen. But if she does want something, she will wander in there to go get it. But again, too, she is 102. We don't necessarily want her to do that. It's just like
Granny just want things to be easy for her.
Granny's like, I got it, baby. But if you help her too much, we're not like, well, Granny just gave me some money for helping her the other day, so but I feel like she's able to articulate herself. She can tell you she like your hair. She'd be low-key telling my daughter when she done, oh, your hair.
They know how to do that.
Like that, like Granny. Like what's that? I guess that means she don't like it. I don't know. But I think she falls under somebody who, if they wanted to go vote, they would be coherent to be able to do it. But then to be honest with you, someone that to me, to some degree, this some bullshit. I don't even know. I'm not even I don't know how. I'm so indifferent about this whole setup overall. And I don't know. moving forward, what the expectation of, not even know the expectation of, but I guess how do we move forward once we've had so much awareness and you see people start, we're kind of like experiencing a enlightenment period per se, I would think. And it's like people were starting to have more knowledge and more awareness of just what's going on or not going on. Where it's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go vote because there's this peer pressure too, or my ancestors, blah blah. Because that's the thing too. It's like, well, I'm sure my ancestors didn't know how corrupt this motherfucker was. Like, there's that. Even people that weren't the biggest MLK fans, maybe they're Malcolm fans, but even right before Martin Luther King was murdered. And I like to say that, make sure I reiterate murder, because people love like, well, Martin Luther King, didn't y'all murder him? So that being said, though, he initially was like, I'm integrating my people into a burning building. Like, what the fuck? Like in theory, and I think the thing is that sometimes you don't know what something is until you get close up on it. Like, you can see something from afar, and once you start to get granular or you magnify something, start to pay attention, you kind of, the fuck is this? Like, even for us, as much as integration, there was a lot of strides for African Americans in integration. There's a lot of things that set us back, in essence, integrating to a cultureless culture to some degree. And that's where it changed our income, businesses. There's so many variables that actually weren't positive for African Americans that came with integration. Though people don't, it's a very unpopular opinion, but it's very fucking true. And so that being said, being able to participate in a culture that actually is, like, again, corrupt, like, because you don't know, because you're on the outside. When you're on the outside, shit, like, well, they got this, they got that. And sometimes too, I think our motivation is by what we don't have access to, not recognizing sometimes we don't need access to that shit. So there's that. I think there was some guy was like, I think he was talking about those restaurants, even not being able to eat at white restaurants, and then their food was shit anyways. He like, this is what I fought for?
That's ignorance is bliss, right? And then you come full circle. You're not green anymore, and you find that the grass is not greener on the other side. It is about the work, And I like the question that you posed tonight. Where do we go? What do we do with all of this information that we've learned? Everybody's so enlightened. If you listen to Kamala, she said you gotta be woke. You gotta be more woke. It's all about just woke. And the people, they looked at her so awkwardly. I have never seen more people look awkward with someone that everybody's supposed to revere or respect. And not awkward because they're fangirling or fanboying, but awkward like, how do I help her? Like, she's doing it to herself. It's almost the epitome of someone pantsing themselves and then not knowing that their whole ass is out. So not only are they exposing themselves, but they're exposing maybe some naughty things. The fact that she laughs at very peculiar moments. I mean, I get it. Psychologists have come out and said, look, sometimes when we're nervous, we laugh. We have nervous laughter. I get that. Absolutely get that. I don't know if that's the person I want running the country. We have to start to categorize or prioritize people's quirks, because at the end of the day, she's going to have the codes. She's going to have access to the button. That fuck all y'all, we going to war button. And if that's the case, I might want someone a little more serious, someone who's taking these problems a little bit more serious, right? And maybe you don't. Maybe you don't care about people's personality. But then fine, let's talk about policy. At the end of the day, neither of the policies that they're talking about make sense for us, as much as everybody wants to go back to a time when Trump was president, because there was no $1,100 increase on gas and food here in Virginia. People want to go back to decent gas prices and decent food prices because inflation wasn't so bad, or there was no inflation. It's almost like these people don't understand inflation, or they don't understand the trickle-down effect of 4 years. 4 years of work, the next 4 years you can benefit from that 4 years of work. That's why Black people
4
have
years of
always
sacrifice.
been like, fine, you got us next time. You got us next time because we get it. But then in the next time, we also get forgotten and passed over. So we're waking up. Kamala told us to be woke. We're going to be woke. Now we're woke. What do we do? I think what we do is we have uncomfortable conversations and we do for self. Because really, if everybody worried about themselves, then the government would have to come checking on us, right? Like they would have to send people and be like, hey, we haven't heard from that neck of the woods in a little while. You know, maybe the town goes dark. Maybe people stop talking so much. Do you remember 4 years ago when everybody was supposed to make their profile picture black and we were supposed to black out the internet? Do you remember that shit?
Yeah.
People was... Marie, did you black out your picture?
I did. I think I went black. I think it lasted like a few days. I think it actually worked because too, weren't we? We really couldn't go no damn where anyway. So it was just a bunch of outside of us witnessing the news, Black people protesting, people getting their ass whooped. Almost the funny part is you've seen the same like scenes from protesting, you know, after the George Floyd. What was the young man that was the jogger?
Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah, so Ahmaud, we've seen the same images. We've seen people protesting, getting beat the fuck up by the police, both under Trump, and then we've seen this under Kamala and Biden with the protesting about Israel. So, like, you're gonna get your ass up under either. You're gonna get beat up under either one of them.
Standing up for what you believe in comes with an ass whooping. So
in the democracy, in this little democracy, the oldest one in the world, speaking up will cost you.
Yeah.
You know, that's interesting. I want to bring to a point that, to be honest with you, it's like and I have to say this from an unbiased place, right? And I think sometimes people have to recognize that we might say things and it might sound like it might mess with your spirit a little bit, but it's just honesty. Right. I really feel like because of everything that's happened under this administration, like really, the Republicans really should be ahead. And they're not like they should be, but even right now, the fact that even though they're still, you know, they too are receiving AIPAC money, they too actually support Israel. But the fact remains, they're not the ones in charge right now. And while the world is asking the United States for an arms embargo, it's Kamala and Biden not willing to do that till after the election. And so I think that that's a piece right now. We're actually starting to see some things occur behind that, or even see a shift in like kind of people's views. Because right now, I think that is part of another reason why Kamala is not where she was initially in the campaign. Because she actually had a good, like, she had like a good little head start above him. And then we're starting to see the kind of level out more. But to be honest with you, I think that the Republicans would have done much better had they have had a different candidate. I think that actually they would have been more viable. We've already kind of seen what Trump can do and what Trump does. And the fact remains, while some people like that radical shit, even a lot of conservatives do not like that radical shit. And I think that's also what is kind of not like, it's not getting them where they want to be, but they're also like, but even they right now, as Trump is like, but we're not Kamala Biden, as much as you know, Kamala's like, but I'm not Trump. He like, I'm not them either. Like, you see what they doing over there. So it is kind of, it's like a weird thing where it's like, they could be so much further, but they have somebody that is unhinged. And I think that makes some people uncomfortable. And that's why we've also seen the shift or we've seen Kamala pick up a lot of Republican votes that she wouldn't have typically gotten simply because of the fact that he's unhinged. And some people just kind of like, hey, that doesn't reflect my values. Even, you know, within the Republican Party, we've seen, you know, kind of strife with them anyways when it comes to him. But he has such an iconic pop star, which I mean, I guess like, you know, he had a TV show. Like people always admire rich people regardless to how they got there. No one really thinks about if there's something what's the word I'm looking for? If there were ill-gotten gains who they had to step on. No one really thinks of that because really people just, oh, you're wealthy, kind of even no different than in the situation with Diddy. People admire wealth regardless to morality or who you are. Like it's just like, oh, they're rich, like
Right.
and I'm assuming that's how
Like
people.
the rules are different.
Absolutely. And I mean, in essence, we do see where the rules are really different. And I think it goes back to the some people want to be able to play under those rules. They just can't, because they're not in that position. And that could be
Right.
what kind of draws them into that. Oh, because you even see, we always hear about women being gold diggers, but you could see someone like men will big homie the shit out of another rich dude. Like, he's rich. Like, you're like, okay, girly. But it's like they're kind of just, like they're just as bad.
Starstruck and yeah.
We hear about all the time too. Just wanting to be closer. Can I touch the hem of your garments?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because proximity, that definitely means more than tangibles. It is gonna sound like a broken clock maybe tonight, the fact that symbols have been the method of payment for Americans for so long, and not just Black America, but white America too. Everybody's been under this illusion of whatever it is perception that they grew up on, and they are finding out that it's not. They're finding out it's not as lily white as they thought it was. They're finding out it's not as Black as they thought it was. I came to a city where it's not a lot of white people, coming from a city that had a lot of white people. It's very different optics when you step outside. People are finding out that more than what you thought is getting government assistance. Something that I saw that everybody kind of was talking about is the fact that we've had 4 years of this, and then, well, the person running for president doesn't want to do anything different, but her policies and plans, they sound different, but then when you get to the nitty gritty, it just seems like, well, maybe this expansion of this plan should have been the initial, and then you could have expanded it even more. But this is Trump. Oh, y'all can't see it.
Kamala wouldn't
There it
change
is.
a thing.
Would you have done something different?
Flood of illegals, skyrocketing prices, global chaos, and Kamala wouldn't change a thing.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Nothing will change with Kamala. More weakness, more war, more welfare for illegals, and even more taxes. Only President Trump cut middle-class taxes, and only President Trump will do it again.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
The Donald. I like that they take sound bites of each other and then make a whole clip about how I'm better than that guy because I'm not that guy. And it's like, okay, yeah, we can see very clearly that you're not a brown woman married to a white man. And we can see very clearly that you're not an orange man married to, I can't think of his wife's name, Melania. I almost said Ivanka. That's his daughter's name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had another bad thought. I won't say it just yet, but they really want us to feel. It's all about the feeling. It has nothing to do with what you're actually going to get. Trump is trying to remind people of how things were when he was president. And check this, if he wins, essentially, it'll happen again because essentially Joe Biden and Kamala have been fixing all of these things that Trump broke when he was president. So Trump coming into office after a Democratic presidency, it would show that he's exactly where he's supposed to be, slashing prices and people getting things that are theirs anyway. Um, Trump told everybody that they won't have to vote again if he wins the presidency, and people lost their shit when really Trump was saying that he
He's
won't be
gonna
able
fix
to
it
run
all.
for president again.
To me, I felt like he was just saying he's gonna fix all the things, everything. You name it, whatever things I'm gonna fix. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna fix this. To me, I didn't take it as he's going to be a dictator. I don't even think he's gonna make it that long.
They've tried to take him out 3 times.
I mean, if he doesn't even take himself out eating at fucking McDonald's, but there's that. But I do think I could see the CIA taking him out. So here's the thing with him, is that he's such a wild card, and he does what he wants, and that makes it difficult to, I guess, handle per se. Even with him, it's like what did he say? He felt like one comment he said he just made a phone call to like the Al Qaeda leader or whatever. He's like, he just picked up the, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, in his mind, it's like, what are you gonna? I could see, well, I picked up the phone and called Hamas, the Hezbollah, called them up, and I told them, let's not do this. Which, I mean, truth be told, that really a president should be able to pick up the phone, and call Bibi and Yatu and say, hey, let's not. Trump's just a wild card, where it's like we don't know what we're going to get. He didn't really participate in a lot of geopolitics when he was in office. If anything, yeah, he met with people, made some phone calls, but that was not his focal point. It could have been because maybe we were being bombarded with COVID at the time, which I don't know. As much as they want to say that he didn't handle it well, all the policies that were put in place for COVID, the Democrats have allowed to expire by doing nothing. And people are still being impacted by COVID. And so to me, like, again, it's like all this finger pointing, but everyone's dirty as shit. Like, you got shit on your fingers too, or, it's really hard for me. Like, okay, so he didn't handle it well, but then you let what was in place expire, or he deregulated certain industries. Like, even right now, we're seeing a lot of listeria in the deli foods, like deli meats. Well, that's because there were some policies that were rolled back under Trump administration that the Biden-Harris campaign chose not to reinforce or put back. So there's a lot of, finger pointing, blame game, but then simultaneously you've done this or you contributed to it by doing nothing. And I think that people don't understand that doing nothing sometimes is just as bad as doing something deliberately.
Absolutely. Yeah, the bystander excuse, it is going to be looked at with vitriol at this point, because people don't want your apology for something that you could have done something about, in the same form and fashion that I don't want children locked up in cages. You can't find anytime, anywhere I've ever said that that's something that I would do or I'd want to do. I've absolutely said that parents who send their children on journeys don't seem to give a damn about what the child might go through if they're on this journey by themselves. I don't know what type of decision or what type of threat you would have to be under to send your child on a journey like that without you. These are things that I've never had to experience. I don't want to experience. And it's a shame that people have had to go through these things. However, how people respond to consequences for their actions, I mean, these are all out of my scope of can do anything about, right? I know that in real time, we've gotten locked up. Black Americans have gotten locked up for not doing anything. So it's so strange that we've got these. I have a point. It's so strange we've got these, the red side, the blue side. They're not doing anything about the problems that either side is causing. And then you said that the listeria in the deli industry. I have a tinfoil bonnet of sorts idea that a lot of these industries have people that they don't want to retire from. They would rather just take it over, give it to someone else. And I've seen in real time, you know, some of these places are in Black areas, and maybe the Black area should have got funding from the government to update things, to make things more OSHA compliant, regulated, up to the times and the code, but they get passed over. And then, so many years of passing things over, somebody's going to get sick. I mean, that just seems like math. If you don't have people doing the checks and balances in an industry where people could die, you're serving people food. There's a lot of things that quality assurance, quality control, you have to pass some tests. You can't just start serving people food. I mean, actually you can if you're like doing it as a hobby. But once you start doing it as you're feeding the country with your deli meat, well, there are some checks and balances that would need to happen. But if the goal is to replace people that are in these industries with other people, then maybe you just let shit go to shit. And then boom, now you got a chicken farm that doesn't have anybody running it. So of course we're gonna give it to the Chinese because we need somebody to farm these chicken. We need somebody to farm this land. We don't have anybody anymore. The people who used to be there, they weren't doing their job, you guys. They weren't doing the checks and balances, so we got them out of there. So I know, big long point, but some of these things, these industries aren't going away, and they're not going to be automated the way that people are afraid. Not yet. We're not there yet for like a mass rollout of robots like that. Yeah, Elon might have something going on. Yeah, Amazon might have something going on, but I still don't think that that's going to be in the average American household in the next 5 to 10 years. And since that's the case, then people are going to have to staff and man these jobs, and people who used to have those jobs aren't able to. They've been kicked out of the industry. Then you would want more people here to do it. I don't know. That was deep, not brief, but tonight I hope that we could introduce you to some of these deep thoughts, because I don't think that these are things we're going to have a conclusion for in an hour, as much as an hour might be enough time to smack y'all around with some of our deep thoughts, and maybe you'll have some conversation to go along with it. Marie, was there anything that you wanted me to pull up before we make it brief?
Well,
there was one thing I did want to talk about. Has nothing to do with anything we've talked about.
Okay.
Not really.
I'm open. Only thing I was gonna say is or something I shared this morning, which was kind of like disastrous, was this guy, I want to say his name is like Mossad, or anyhow, he's from Israel. He's like with Pierre Morgan. They're on this thing, and I think I shared it on my Facebook. But he literally like went the fuck off and basically like threatened. He didn't actually. I mean, I guess he did threaten them, but he was basically saying that if America didn't comply with the proxy war, or with the war with Iran, that they were going to go ahead and that they were going to basically because someone said, now what are you saying exactly? And he's like, well, that's really funny. For some reason it's not on my Facebook anymore.
You said he was on Piers Morgan?
So he's on Pierre Morgan, and he was basically like, he basically like threatened the Western politicians, like, hey, if this doesn't, he's like, if you guys don't support her, you don't want to support her, you get in the way, you'll be removed. And then someone's like, so are you threatening to kill them? Like, what is being said? And he kind of, it's also not on my Instagram anymore.
You might be on some deep states type stuff.
So he basically threatened United States politicians. Someone asked, like, "Are you threatening them?" And then he kind of was like, "Well, I mean, they can be removed or whatever, but too, we know that AIPAC's unseated certain politicians as well. But then there's also things of people believe that there's stories about maybe Israel being responsible for like Kennedy's death or just different things like that, 9/11, like the variety of things where they may have had the power or the reach and they exercised that. I want to say that like President Kennedy wanted AIPAC to register as a foreign entity, and not too much later was he no longer here with us.
I think I found it.
That's so weird because normally then when they remove something, they tell me they removed something, but
Yeah, no, I shared something about a school that Kamala was going to, just on some, if you're in the area, make sure you ask the presidential nominee a question, and taken down with no explanation and just nothing, just like I had never posted it. If I didn't have screenshots of it, it would be like I never posted it. But I think this is what you were talking about.
You've been very critical of people who are trying to suppress these protests at all, to which I would say I absolutely believe in the right to protest peacefully. I believe in free speech emphatically as you do. I think we're in agreement on that. But if people are going to do things like chant about an intifada, and I know you picked me up on X earlier about, do I know the meaning of intifada? Well, here's what I know. There have been 2 intifadas involving the Israel-Palestine conflict. And it led to many thousands of deaths. But both were driven by violence. I mean, they weren't peaceful intifadas. By very definition, these uprisings were violent and involved extreme violence, particularly the second one, which involved blatant acts of terrorism. So that is my understanding of an intifada. There have also been many other things in the last 30 years in the world which have been dubbed intifadas. And the one common denominator is they've all involved violent uprisings. In fact, I can't think of, unless you can correct me, when was the last?
Yeah, I can.
When was the last entirely peaceful intifada?
So in 2011, in the Arab Spring, the Tunisians rose up peacefully. I'm sure you supported them. I did. Against their dictator Ben Ali. The Egyptians rose up in Tahrir Square. I think you supported them. I certainly did.
Yeah.
Against Mubarak, against these dictators that we in the West have been supporting. Those were referred to. You can go back and look at the Arabic press. You can look at the BBC Arabic coverage as intifadas. We can go back further. In fact, we can go back to a violent uprising that we all supported. The Warsaw Ghetto, Piers. The Warsaw Ghetto, right? Polish Jews standing up against the Nazis. Do you know how the US Holocaust Memorial Museum describes the Warsaw Ghetto on its Arabic page? It calls it the Warsaw
But you wouldn't categorize.
Hold on. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Let me finish my point, and then you come back in. The Warsaw Intifada. We're not calling the Jews in Poland who stood up against the Nazis as terrorists. So no, I don't.
Okay, I think I see what you said.
He's changing. I like his cleverness. He's very clever.
But that's not even the real exchange. That's funny. It's kind of alarming. And then I noticed that it was shared a lot, and then it's no longer available for the people that shared it. Like the person who originally made the post did something. See, you guys, this is what no.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Morgan's been the target because of his commentary about Jay and Bay and Jaguar Wright, which is actually, that was what I was going to bring up.
Honestly, he's been heavy for me because he's had such a very pro-Israeli stance, and truth be told, he's really been it's like he's really seen it as one-sided, very one-sided point of view.
You didn't? Did you freeze?
No, I'm actually looking for the. Okay, someone did repost. Like I found the repost
and anyone
of
who
my
gets in the way,
post.
even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall because we cannot afford letting any Islamic entity obtain mass destruction weapon. It's as simple as that. It's common sense. You don't need to be part of the Israeli intelligence to realize that Ayatollah with a mass destruction weapon is bad news. So Cenk and many of those losers, you will be defeated.
Did you hear what he just said? He threatened politicians in the West that if they don't agree with Israel's war against Iran, that they're going to fall. And remember, he's an Israeli agent. Are you saying Israel will murder politicians in the West or get rid of them politically through bribery or whatever else? What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
Yeah, we will not vote for them anymore.
Oh, no, well, you don't vote for them
You
now.
should see
You're
him
not in it.
smile. And then how is he going to say we're not going to vote for them anymore? And that's not, you're not even American.
Even democracy. And we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down. Those who agree with Ayatollah, we don't want them in office. And all the sympathizers with terrorists like yourself, we don't want them even to be in our country.
Ooh.
Who is we, and how are you bringing down politicians in the West if they dare to defy Israel? Tell me how you're bringing them down.
I already answered you that.
Are you going to murder them, or are you going to bribe them? Or are you going to bribe someone else? Who are you going to do? And okay, so let me answer it because he's not. Look, the best case scenario, we've seen the worst case scenario. They buy an Israeli product, see how it turns out for you. Okay. Now, the best case scenario for what he's saying there is, oh no, AIPAC's going to come in and say, hey, if you work for Israel, we'll give you a lot of money, and now J Street too. If you don't work for Israel, we'll give that money to your political opponent and we'll eliminate you politically. And that is where we are here in America. And Piers, you can't deny it. I mean, right now, almost all of our politicians, their top donor is AIPAC. And so, in a sense, the United States has occupied territory. And now Mossad or whoever he is saying, hey, you better watch out. If you defy.
So that was what
Interesting. That is I think that's very telling. Also, you know, he didn't say he's going to take anybody out as much as he did say that we're not going to vote for them anymore.
It's going to be this.
And you're right. How are these people voting in our elections? Or is it something else? Do we not know something?
I mean, you honestly, you got to see the video so you can see his face. I sent it to you. So you can see his face when he talks. Like, it almost is worth you actually seeing the real video.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
To be honest with you, I didn't even realize that one. He reminds me he's probably an Arab Israeli.
Mm-hmm.
For one, so to be honest with you, before I actually clicked in and knew who he was, I didn't know what to expect, and I damn sure wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I was either. Let me see if I can put this on the screen for the people. There we go. Let's get there. Give it no what Instagram doesn't want to let me be great because it's telling me that I need to sign in to look at it. Yeah, I might just clip it, put it in the description so that people can see the faces that are made. Maybe I'll even put it. Oh, I got it. Y'all see it. See it in the thumbnail. In the meantime, in between time, I think that there are a lot of things that have some layers that we've already started unraveling, unfolding, peeling back, so to speak. I think it's just going to get deeper. The rabbit hole is very dark down there, and the deeper we go, maybe the more enlightened we'll be. It's
Or the more
interesting, right?
shadow banned I will be on social media.
I hope we don't get super duper banned as much as we are already shadow banned. So be on the lookout for maybe a new link for these new conversations. Millennials, we adult every day, right? We will definitely get back to the other side of things in November, family time, family month, and different things that y'all might want to do as we create new traditions and, start these families of our own. But I hope you guys are having questions and that you're searching for some answers. We all have the ability with these computers, with the technology that's available, but just be prepared that if you don't keep a record of what it is that you're searching, if you don't hit Control P, Command P, if you don't print the stuff and put it on paper, there might not be any evidence of whatever it is that you found later. And that's just the thick of it. Did you have anything you want to leave off before we?
Honestly, I'm still just flabbergasted. I don't know why I'm surprised, but real surprised. Thank you guys for being here for this discovery moments.
Yeah, that is crazy that we had that exposure moment with how these sites are not friendly to this type of conversation. But if them people can do it, then we can do it. And Marie's basically this color, right? Oh, I'm just playing.
The irony, though, is that I feel like I'm onto something, and that's
no, you're definitely onto something. Especially if it's, what he said was benign. Listening to what he said was benign, but then you start looking at the faces, and it's code speak. A lot of time people are making.
Yeah, he was making, so when he's like, what you gonna do, and the faces he was making and the smile and the like, yeah, motherfucker, like,
right,
what we can do.
That's why we're not gonna vote for them anymore. What do you mean vote? Oh, I said too much. Let me shut up, right? But don't get in trouble diving down these holes. Just know that there are other people out here searching for the answer. So you're not alone, y'all. Until next time, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.